Yeah, we can
So
hear
I
you.
hope everyone is hearing me clearly. Yeah, okay. So today we will recap on JavaScript loops. Then we are also going to talk about JavaScript arrays, objects, and then how to set up your offline development environment. So, so we'll go over loops. So that's for, while, and do while loop. Then we'll talk about arrays and array methods, and then we'll talk about Java, sorry, objects, and then we'll talk about object methods. So then we'll now talk of setting up your node. We'll set up node and VS Code offline. So that's what we are going to do. So I hope everyone is following up to this point. So we should continue. So let's talk about for loops. So what are for loops? So you use loop to repeat an action a number of times. Like if you want to say like hello 5 times or hi 20 times, for example, you can actually use a loop. And then an example of a loop you can use for that kind of um, action is a for loop. So a for loop accepts three arguments. So it accepts an initializer, a condition, and an iterator. So this initializer is like where you want the loop to start from, like what number you want the loop to start from. Then this condition is where you want, like what should be checked to evaluate if the loop, like if the loop is going to continue, is going to stop. So if this condition is still true, the loop will still run. If this condition becomes false, then the loop is going to exit, is going to stop and exit out. Then this iterator is if you're iterating through a number, like how many steps should it take each time it's iterating through that particular number. Like if this is zero, for example, if this initializer is zero, and it means you're starting from zero to um start like to count the loop, then you're now saying after the first time this loop runs and this condition is true, how many steps should we take to the next loop? So if this was a 2, for example, if this was I plus 2, so and this is 0, when it runs the first time, when this loop runs the first time, the second time it's going to, the value of this initializer is going to be 2 instead of 0. Then if we run it again, it's going to be 4. So let me show you how that works. So if you wrote a for loop here, and in fact, I also said something. So I said this is a simpler way to think of a for loop. So you think of it as having starts, a start, then this stop is like the condition. So will it stop? If the condition is false, then it will stop. Then this is like saying step, like how many steps should it take to reach the stop part of the loop. So I hope you're getting. So someone says for let I is equals to 0, I is less than or equals to 0, I plus plus. Okay, so like yeah, that's like a basic structure of it. So Anderson, please can you mute yourself? Anderson Victor. Okay, thank you. No, any other person that is joining should mute themselves, please. Thank you. So a simpler way to think of a loop is just think of it as start, stop. And that stop is if a condition becomes false, then it will become stop. But if the condition is not, if the condition evaluates to true, then you have maybe like a continue here instead of stop. Then you have step. So I was writing a for loop. I did for, let's say, let I equals to 0, and then we say I should be less than maybe 20. Then we now have I plus plus. And we said we should just console.log I, for example. So if we run this code, we see that I prints from 0 to 19. But if you count this, this is actually 20 outputs here. But we are starting from 0 and we are stopping at 19, because the truth is, a lot of people ask, why is it not printing 20? So the question you should ask yourself is 20 less than 20 here? So that's when this become, when I becomes 20, what's the question we are asking, or the condition that we are looking at is 20 equal to 20? No. I'm sorry, is 20 less than 20? No, 20 is not less than 20. 20 is equal to 20. So that's why this loop is not going to be printed anymore. So or the value 20 is not going to be printed. So if you actually want to print 20, you could do that. You can add an equal to, say, to check, is 20 less than 20? No, 20 is not less than 20, but is 20 equals to 20? Yes, 20 is equals to 20. So we have a 20 there. Then, of course, you find out that this loop starts from 0. If you want this loop to start from 1, you just change this part from 0 to 1. So you then have 1 to 20. So yeah, so this is how a for loop works. So this I here is representing this I. So the first time 1 is being printed, then we now check if we now increment 1 by 1. What this I plus plus here is saying increment I by 1. So we increment I by 1, and then we check is 1, or we increment here, increment 1 by 1, like we increment I by 1. So that means I now becomes 2. We now check is 2 less than 20? Yes, 2 is less than 20. We print 2. After printing 2, we add I again to that 2. So 2 plus 2, we add 1 to that 2. So 2 plus 1 become 3. We now check is 3 less than we assign the value of I to become 3. We now check is 3 less than 20? Yes, it's true. 3 is less than 20. So we now print 3. So that's loop continues until this condition is becomes false. So first, so why this 20 is printing is we say is 20 less than 20? So that's not true. But is 20 equal to 20? Yes, 20 is equal to 20. We print it. Then we now increase this will become 20 for, I mean, for the last loop. Then we now say we now add 1 to that 20, so that becomes 21. So we now check is 21 less than 20? No. Is 21 equal to 20? No. So then that's why it's not printing 21 out. So that's how this works. And then you can do a lot of funny things inside here. You can say this number. So if you do that, you have number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, like that till 20. So that's how you use a for loop. So I guess you're following up to that point. If you have any question, you can ask on the comments. So this is how you write your for loop. So I guess you guys understand how for loop works now. Hello. So if you understand, just type on the comment section. So if you understand, if you're following up to this point. So if you're not following, you ask your question. So I want it to be interactive. I want to be sure that you guys are following. Nobody's commenting, oh, nobody's saying anything. Hello? Nobody's saying anything. Oh. Okay, you're getting it. So that's basically how you write a for loop. So, so let me continue. So I even gave an example here. So for, then first you initialize the variable you want to use. Now, if you are using j, like for example, you say j is equals to 1, make sure you use j here, you use j here, and you use j inside the loop. So this I, for example, is referring to this I here, which is equals to 1. And this I keeps changing as the loop keeps running. So then do here. Here I say I is I plus equals to 2 and we run this. Okay. So are you guys here? So I understand, but do we have to print it one after other? Just leave the one code for all of them. So he's saying just leave the one code for all of value. So if you want to manually like make it show once, maybe, or if you want to actually, if you want them to delay before showing again, like it shows maybe number number one, then it delays before showing number two, then it delays. You can use set interval or set timeout. So there are actually functions on JavaScript you could actually use. I guess if I did that, plus or equals to 2. Okay, so I sorry about the mistake. I said I plus 2. So this is the right thing to do. So if I wanted to print like this, so if I wanted to take five steps instead, I just do I plus equals to 5. Then that will take five steps till it's reach where this condition no more holds. So Chisom, I don't really understand like this part of your question. So just leave the code for all of them. Like I don't get, like, try explaining more about the question. I mean, from 1 to 20, 1 is less than 20. Okay, all right, okay. So, all right, I've answered. Okay, cool. So this is how, like, you write a for loop. Write a for loop like that. Then so we want to talk about like how you write a while loop. So let's continue. So while loop is a bit similar to for loop, just that it only accepts one argument, which is the condition in which you specify here. So if the condition is true, then the loop will continue. If the condition is false, then the loop will actually break. So this is an example of a while loop. So we have while this. So you notice the initializer is outside. The initializer is outside the loop. Then we have the iterator being inside the loop. Then we have the condition passed here as an argument. So this is how you use a while loop. If you want to do exactly the same thing you did on a for loop, on a while loop, then this is exactly how you're going to approach it. So, well, before we go to do while loop, let's see how while loop works. So if you want to do while loop, you say let's I equals to maybe let's say 0, for example. Then you say while I is less than maybe 20, for example. Now say console.log, then you say I. After that, you say I plus plus here. So if we run that, still have what we did before. So we have 1 to 20, then can do this. Number 1 to 20, or number 0, from 0 to 19. Number 1, number 2, number 1 till. So if we want to print from 1 to 20, that's what we are going to do. Then of course, plus equals to 5, for example. So we find out that what we could do on a while loop, or sorry, on a for loop, we can also do it on a while loop. So number one thing you need to notice is that since this is outside, if you put this if you put this initializer inside the loop, you would have, I think that should be an infinite loop, because each time it is going to, in fact, I'm not even sure it's going to run, because you're first checking, it might run once and then try to check the condition. Let me try it and see what is going to happen. So if I do that and run, or it doesn't even run itself. So because it first checks this, it sees that I is not defined. But if we define I here and then we run it, we get what we want. So then there is also a possibility of running into an infinite loop if you put true here. So you're saying, while true is true, run this code. So there is no point you get that true will ever be false. So true will always be true. So which means this, if I run this code now, it's going to run forever and ever, because true will always be true. Or if you say if 1 is equals to 1, So 1 will always be equal to 1, no matter the circumstance. So you just need to be careful so you don't run into an infinite loop there. So an infinite loop is a loop that doesn't have an end. It just keeps running forever, doesn't have any end. Okay, someone is asking if you can nest loops. Yeah, sure. You can have a for loop inside a for loop. You can have, yes, you can nest loops. You can nest loops. You can have a for loop inside for loop. I've not tried having while loop inside a while loop, but I'm definite of for loop. You can have a for loop inside a for loop. If you have an array inside an array, and you want to loop through the array inside that particular array, then you can use a nested loop to achieve that. So yeah, you can have nested loops. So I guess you should always have your for loop inside for loop. Why would you want to have a while loop inside a for loop or a for loop inside a while loop? Why would you want to do that? Is there any valid reason you want to do that? I haven't tried that before, so I can't tell you if that is going to work. But definitely, having a for loop inside a for loop is legit. It would work, especially if you write it well. It's going to work. I'm sure having a for loop inside a while loop should work since they are loops. So I hope I have answered your question. So I hope I've answered your question. Yeah, you can have loops. You can nest loops. So that's how you use a while loop. So I remember I was talking about while loop and do while loop, and I was talking about the difference between a while loop and a do while loop. So okay, so let me just talk about a do while loop. So a do while loop executes a block of code once. It executes the block of code once before checking if the condition is true. Then it will repeat the loop as long as the condition is true. So this is like saying first it's going to execute whatever I have inside this block before it's I plus plus. Sorry, I plus plus. So we run this, we still see our number 1 to 19. But this is running because this is true till 19. But if this was false, so first after running this code once, it will check if, so if when this code runs once, I is 1, then after I is increased, this condition is being checked. So after executing this code, I becomes 2. So we now check is 2 greater than 20. So that's false. So this will only run once and then give us the answer. So you see that since this evaluates to false, since this line of code evaluates to false, this block of code here runs only once, doesn't run more than one time. So the only time it will run more than once is if the value of this of the argument evaluates to true. That's when everything will run. So I hope you understand to that point. I hope you guys understand to that point. So the difference between a while loop and a do while loop is if the condition on a while loop is false for the first run, it won't even run even once for a while loop. But if you are using a do while, it's the code will run at least once before it will check if the condition is false or true. So that's the major difference between a do while loop. So just know a do while loop will run at least once, even if the condition is false, it will run at least once. But but on a while loop will just run okay, it will first check the condition before running. But a do while loop will run first, at least once. It will run once before checking if the condition is true or false. So that's the major difference between both of them. So that's an example of a do while loop. So do while this is equals to this, then you see the output. So when I is equals to 1, print I, increase I by 1, then check if 1, okay, if we increase I by 1, this will become 2. We check is 2 less than 5. Yes, 2 is less than 5. This becomes 2. We print 2, we increase 2 by 1, 2 becomes 3. We check if 3 is less than 5. That's true. So we increase 3 by 1. We print, so increasing 3 by 1 make it 4. We print 4 out. Then, okay, we print 4 out. Then we increase 4 by 1. Then that becomes 5. So we now check is 5 less than 5. So this becomes false. So that's why it doesn't print 5 again. So here that as after printing 1, it increases 1 by 1. So this becomes 2. You now check is 2 greater than 5? No, 2 is not greater than 5. So this doesn't run anymore. So that's the difference. But this loop has run once before checking whether it's true, whether the condition is true or false. So before we go into arrays, I guess you guys understand how loops work, how for while and do while loop works, and then what are their differences. Okay, cool. So which means we can actually continue. So um so let's talk about JavaScript arrays. So an array is a special type of variable which can store multiple values using special syntax. Now, every value is associated with a numeric index starting with 0. So an example of an array is what you're seeing down here. So you remember for a variable just has a variable, like a string variable has just one value of this, like a string. You can't specify more than one value. So but here you can see that we have a lot of different, like we have a lot of values here. So we have fruits as the variable name. We have mango, banana, apple, pineapple as the values inside this array. So this is how you tell JavaScript that you want to initialize an array. So you use this bracket notation. So this is popularly called bracket notation. So you open your brackets and you put your semicolons, then you now say mango, banana. Of course, you know these are strings because of their quotes there. So let's continue. So JavaScript arrays can also store different data types. So you can have an empty array, then you can have an array with different data types, and then You can initialize an empty array and add things to that array. You can add things to that array, and you can retrieve each of the values of this array. So I'm going to do all that for you guys to see and then follow up. Then we say JavaScript arrays. You can access an array element by referring to the index number of that array. So for example, remember in this first slide, we said every value is associated with numeric index starting with 0. So this mango has an index of 0. You know, let's liken this to your shopping list. So when you're going to a grocery store or market or supermarket, you say you want to buy, okay, things to buy. Then you write number 1, sugar, number 2, groundnuts, number 3, maybe shoe, number 4, clothes, and all those stuff. So an array is kind of like a list, because it's in fact it's a list, but you know, as a human being, you don't start you don't start listing by writing 0, like writing 0 as the first element in your list, and then like that you start from number 1 to start listing out what you want to write. But in programming, this mango has an index of 0, banana has an index of 1, apple has an index of 2, pineapple has an index of 3. So if I want to access mango, for example, I'll say fruits, and I'll say with the index of 0, it's going to give me mango. If I say fruit with the index of 1, it's going to give me banana, like that, like that, like that, and so on and so forth. So you've seen how we did it here. We said details is equals to Victor 20 and true. So if I want to access Victor, I say details where the index is 20. So that's how it works. Then we see that the output is Victor. See that the output here is Victor. So then before we go into JavaScript array methods and properties, let's do more of the practical here. So we come back to our REPL. Can say let's fruits equals to, so let me do that first, and let me try now. This array, if I print it, is going added mango to the index of 0 there. If I want to add to another index, I now say fruits of index 1. So now it should be equals to maybe orange. If I run this, you see that we have mango and orange in there. So then, of course, if this were already added here, like we did mango and orange, and okay, let me leave it at mango orange, and then if we console.log at, it will still give us the same results. But of course, we can access a particular fruit. If I want to access the first fruit, I say fruit with index of 0, it gives me mango. Fruit with index of 1 gives me orange. So that's the basic of array. So you can add to an empty array by um, specifying its index, the index you want to add. And another thing, you can actually change um, the value of an array. So for example, you could do this. You can say fruits at number, let me use at index 1 should be equals to carrots, for example. So if I say that should equal to carrots and I now console.log it here, fruits, sorry, console.log fruits, and of course I remove this and I run this. First, you're going to see that this first fruits brings out mango and orange. Then we now change it and say the second fruit shouldn't be orange. That's the fruit with the index of 1 shouldn't be orange again, but it should be carrot. And then we now print out the value of fruits again. And then fruits now gives us mango and carrot. So you can edit the values of or change the values of an array by doing this, by assigning, or yeah, by reassigning the value to another thing. For example, you can even change the value of mango to, you just need to say with the index of 0. So that is going to change mango to something else. But if I wanted to add carrot now, I'll say the index of 2, I'm adding carrot. So you see that carrot is being added since there is nothing here at the index of 2. So it's now adding carrot to that space. So I hope everybody's following up to this extent. So is there any question? If you have any question, you can ask now. Okay, Chisom says he or she is following. Chisom is following. So, and I hope other people are following. If you're following, just come to the comment section and say, yeah, I'm following. So who else is following to that point? Okay. So Tapelo is shaking me. All right. Okay. So that means you're following. So let's continue. So this is a very big topic. So don't worry, it's not a really big topic. So we'll talk about JavaScript properties and methods. So remember the difference, like I said, one thing you could notice if you're calling a property and you're calling a method. In fact, let someone tell me, like, if you're looking at um if you're looking at this, for example, you see that this is a property, an array property, and you see that these are methods of an array. So what is the difference between a property and a method? By looking at their syntax, what's the difference between the both of them? So someone should type fast on the comment. So let me see. By just looking at them, just look at, this is a property and these are methods. So what is the noticeable difference between both of them? So someone should type. So I hope someone is typing. Someone is typing. Okay, so let me come again. So I was saying, looking at the syntax of array methods and array properties, like what do you see? What is the main difference? What is the difference? What's the difference between this? In fact, what's the difference between properties and methods? I remember I said that in one of our classes. So I want to see if you guys are really following me. So I'm listening. So Tapio, I hope you got the question. So nobody has answered. Nobody has typed anything yet. I hope someone is typing. Or should I just answer the question? Hmm? Do I just answer the question? Okay. Chisom says answer, please. Okay. So I remember I said it in one of my classes. So I said um, a property is what, like, a characteristics someone will know something, like someone will know about something, for example. So already looking at these two, we notice that this length doesn't have any brackets in between it, but all the methods here have brackets at their side. So this is to tell you, anytime in JavaScript you see something like this, having dot before it, and then it has maybe something is written after it, after the dot, but it doesn't have any brackets, just know it's referring to a property somewhere. Don't worry, you'll see how this plays out when we enter into objects. So this is a property. So this is like saying, for example, your height, or I'm liking it to a human being. So let's say, for example, in JavaScript, we create an object, and that object has, let's say, name, age, what else? Any of those properties, and you want to access those properties from, maybe you want to print those properties, or you want to assign it to a variable or something. You will use this dot notation, and since they are properties, you just call name without putting the brackets. But if it's a function inside a method, for example, and you want to call that method, then you you write that method name, and then you write the brackets on the side. So don't worry, I know a lot of you guys might not really like understand what I'm saying now, but just know that I'm not, I know a lot of people understand it, but for you guys that don't understand, I will actually do the practical of this. But for now, let's talk about arrays. So just know a property is something that is peculiar to you, like your name, your height, your skin color. I'm using an human being, for example. Then what you can do, you can talk, you can walk, you can So have inside an array. So then from there we also have push. Let me see, I guess by now it should go live. Okay, yeah. So then we have push. So we have push method. Push method adds a new element to the end of an array. So for example, if we have mango, banana, and apple, and then we push strawberry into these fruits, what we will have now is we'll have mango, banana, apple, and then we have strawberry at the end of these fruits. So we are pushing at the end of these fruits. Then we have pop. So pop method is used to remove an element at the end of an array. So if we have mango, banana, and apple, and then we just call fruits.pop, irrespective of whatever is at the end of this array, it's going to remove it. So the output is mango, banana. So it removed apple, or it popped apple out from fruits. Then we have toString. So we have that toString method converts an array to string of comma separated values or comma separated array values. So if I did mango, so now you notice that toString can be used on integers. It can also be used on arrays. So we have fruits, and then now we have fruits.toString. So this fruits.toString converts this array into a string, and then it now when we print out that separated, like this string separated fruits as a variable that stores the fruit that has been converted to string, we now have the output as mango, banana, apple. So now this fruit.toString doesn't affect the normal fruits. This, if you try to output fruits will still remain an array. But if you try to, but when you output this separated fruits, string separated fruits, it will output mango, banana, and apple together. So then we have join. So join method returns an array as string separated by comma. Then join method does not change the original array. So yeah, even toString doesn't actually change the original array. So you have banana, orange, mango, apple, mango, and then you join it. Then it gives you the same comma separated array values. But there's an advantage of using join over string to string. This is it. So if you use join and then you set the criteria at which they should be joined. So if you say they should be joined by having a comma and a space, so it will now join banana with orange by having comma and space here. Then orange, it will join orange to with apple, and then it will have comma and space here. Then if we want to join it by star, so you can join by anything. You can join by anything you want. So if I want to join this array by using star instead of comma and space, I'll just put star here. So it will be banana, star, orange, and it converts it to string and then joins it by whatever criteria you specify. But if you don't specify any criteria, it's going to join them by comma. So I guess I've done a lot of things at once. I hope you guys are following. So if I did dots, if I did fruits two is equals to or okay, I did pop. I did push and pop. So if I did push, I'd say fruits dot push. I say apple. Now, of course, you notice that this push alters this, like the way this fruit is. So it's not as if it returns a new variable, it directly alters the original source. So if we do console dot log fruits, see that network is really slow today. So okay, so let me do this. Since network wants to act up today, so if I said fruits equals to mango and orange, and then we did fruits dot push, and then we push in apple. That fruits dot push to be 3, so it just returns the number of elements there. So if we dot join, see that it's guys understand up to that point. Hello, is anybody here? Do you guys understand to that point? Yeah, network is terrible. Yeah. Okay. Chisom says network is terrible. Oluwatobi. Okay. Oh, all right, cool. So not be only me. It's not only me. So yeah, the network is just generally bad today. Oh, yeah, I understand. Okay, Oluwatobi says, I understand. Okay. So so another thing, the reason why we are learning all these things is that you want to, I don't even see what you did. Hello guys, are you seeing the terminal? Are you seeing? So just did this. First, first we pushed apple into fruits as being an array. Then we printed that out here. Then we popped fruit. So we removed the last pop removes the last element. Then after that, we printed it out. We now converted fruit to string and printed it out. Then we tried to we join fruits together using the join method, and we joined it using a different criteria, which is comma and space. Then we tried to join fruits also using asterisks. Then we also tried to join fruits using and. So I just hope you're seeing this terminal clearly. Please, if you're not seeing, say it on the comment section so I'll know what to do. Okay, so Chisom says I can see it. Okay, it's visible and you guys are seeing it clearly. Cool. Nice, nice, nice. So we've done all this on fruits. So then let's continue. So we stopped at join. So I hope by now you guys should understand how to use pop, push to string, and join methods and length property, because they are important. You always work with these data types, and then you need to understand how to use them. Then we talk about using shift method. So shift removes the first array of, or the first element in an array, and then it shifts all other elements to a lower index. So if you notice here, we have banana, orange, apple, and mango, and we do shift dot fruit dot shift. So fruit dot shift is going to remove banana, then shift orange to bananas index, shift apple to orange index, then shift mango to apple's index. And then since this is index, okay, this see it here. Then since index this index 0, index 1, index 2. Since index 3 doesn't exist, it's index 3 is automatically gone. So if we try to do that using our terminal, if we say orange, okay, if we say fruits, so our fruits now just have mango and orange there. If we try to print that out, say we said fruits dot shift. So if we say fruits dot shift, and so you see it outputs mango. So it's telling you that it is removing mango. So if you try to print out fruits now, you see that it's only orange that is inside there. So let me reassign fruits again. So let fruits have a lot of properties. Mango, orange, um, carrot, apple, and pineapple. So if we have fruits to be that, and then we go back to doing fruits.shift. If we shift, we see that mango is given to us. Then if we try to console or log out the fruits again by typing fruits, we see orange, carrot, apple, and pineapple. So that's it about shift. Then when you talk about, so now shift removes the first element or the first array. So since we have shift, we also have on shift. So shift removes from the array. It removes the first value for the array. On shift adds, like what we see, the unshift method adds a new element to the beginning of an array and unshifts other older elements. So if we add, for example, we're adding lemon here. So as it's adding lemon, it's shifting banana that was at index 0 to index 1, shifting orange that was at index 1 to index 2, like that, like that, like that, after adding lemon. So it shifts, yeah, or it unshifts others. That's
can't hear anything. That is very bad.
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you now.
Yeah, we can hear you now.
You guys now.
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay, I'm sorry about that. Like the network just went out on its own and I didn't notice it.
No problem.
So let's continue. So I guess let's be on the same page. So I stopped at join, the join method.
Oh,
So okay, I stopped at shift and I stopped at on shift. So I want to be sure you guys understand up to that on shift method. You guys understand up to that on shift method. Hmm? Okay, Chisom says, okay. So Richard, I haven't heard your voice in this class. So you've not said anything so far. So comment on the chat section if you're following. Is Richard there? Okay. Okay. So all of you say you're following to on you guys follow up to on shift method. Okay, cool. So on shift. So you understand how on shift works. On shift adds to the end of an element. Shift removes. Sorry, on shift adds to the start of an array. Shift removes from the start of an array. Then we have join and the rest. So then let's continue. Then we have concat. So concat is used to create a new array by merging or concatenating existing arrays. So if I want these two arrays to be merged together to form one array, I can actually use concat. So I say girls as the first array, and then I say I'm concatenating it with boys array. So concatenation just means like merging two stuffs together for it to actually become one. So of course you see how it is. So so of course, one thing worthy of noting is this concatenate creates a new array. So, or it returns a new array. So then we save that array as my children, and then I can now concatenate it. Now, if I concatenate my girls, it will still concatenate. It will, sorry, if I print out my girls as a variable, it will print out this array. If I print out or console.log my boys, it would still print out these values here. But if I print out my children, it is going to actually print out the concatenated version or the merged version of those two arrays. Then you can concatenate more if you have like 3 arrays or 4 or 5 arrays. The first array, which is what you're going to put here, and then inside this concatenate, you now put in the number of arrays you want to concatenate with, whether it's even if it's 5 arrays or more than 5, is going to actually concatenate it. So I would actually do concatenate. Then splice method can be used to add new items to an array. So yeah, so splice is another sweet method you can use. So you're saying at the index of 2, you're not removing anything, you're not removing any value at the index of 2, but you want to add in apple and mango. So what he's going to do is he's going to check at the index of 2. So this banana has an index of 0, orange has an index of 1. So at an index of 2, since you're not removing anything, or yes, you're not removing anything, so you're not like deleting anything. So you now say you want to add apple and mango to that from 2, from the index of 2. So apple now will have the index of 2, mango will now have the index of 3. So that's how Splice actually works. So Splice can be used to add elements to an array. Splice can also be used to remove elements from an array. So if I want to remove apple, for example, so I say at the index of 2, so this is index of 0, this has an index of 1, apple has an index of 2, and I said remove only one element, which is that apple itself. So it will remove apple, and then it will now bring out, if I try printing out fruits, I'll see banana, orange, and mango. If I wanted to remove apple and mango, I would say, and the index of 2, remove 2 elements. So starts from here to remove 2 elements. So it will remove apple and it will also remove mango. So that is how Splice works. Then Slice is used to create a new array out of it's used to create a new array out of an array. For example, so Slice can be thought of as the opposite of Concat. So Concat takes 2 different arrays and then merge them into one array. But if there is in Slice now takes one array and then creates a new array from that slice. So so sorry about that. So Slice. So let me explain how that works. So first, I just print out fruits. After printing out fruits, I slice it. So this slice is supposed to be in between here. So I guess I would have to do this using repel. So if I said fruits is a mango, apple, carrots, and then I do let's some fruits for fruits dot slice. Then inside that slice, I pass in 2 arguments. So the first argument is where I want to start slicing from. So which index am I starting from? So I'm starting from index 0. So sorry, index 1. So this is this banana has an index of 0, Orange has an index of 1. So I choose index of 1. And then I say I'm slicing 3 elements out. I'm slicing, 2 elements out. So I'm slicing out orange, lemon, and I think that should be apple. So let me try that out first. 1 and 3. And if I try to print out some fruits, let me see what that is going to bring. Okay, so I'm slicing out orange. Okay, I'm starting from orange to slice, and I'm saying I'm slicing out orange and apple. So if I change this to 2. Okay, so what I'm simply saying is I'm starting to slice from orange, and then I want to still stop at orange. So if I increase this to 4, for example, I think carrots will also be among what is going to be sliced. So this is index 0, index 1, then it starts slicing from index 1, then this is index 2, and this is index 3. So it's going to slice from the first index to this index minus 1. So just picture this as being starting to slice from index 1, then it sliced Then when it reaches index 3, it stops. It doesn't actually include index 4 if there was an index 4. So that is why when I actually put 3, it starts slicing. It will slice this first one and this one, but it doesn't include this one. So it is from the index to the value of this second argument minus 1. So that's why it's taking it back to just orange and apple. So this is 0, 1, 2. So it's not including carrots. So, but if we still print out fruits, it's going to actually still print out the whole thing. So this slice also returns a new array, as you've seen, it returns a new array. So Richard, please mute yourself. Thank you. So I guess everybody is following up to that point. So I'm waiting to hear from you guys if you're following to that point.
Yes, sir.
So I hope you guys understand how Slice works and the difference between Slice and Splice. So Splice. So Splice can be used to either add or remove from an array. But meanwhile, Slice creates a new array based on what's like where you want to slice from. So Slice is basically saying this particular set of elements, I want to remove them from the original array and create a new array for those elements. So that's what Slice does. While Splice can be used to add to an array or remove from an array. So if you're following, say hi. If you're following, I want to be sure that everybody's following. If we are all on the same page. If you have any question, please just ask on the comments. I always keep checking these comments to see if you have any question. So Oluwatobi says hi. So I don't know if any other person is following. Okay. So Tapelo says following very well. Okay. That's nice to know. So we have a JavaScript array methods. We've talked about slice and we've talked about shift before. So I guess that's a mistake, having shift again. So I'll just delete that slide. So we have JavaScript objects. So we've done now. That's not for array. That's not just all the methods for it. There are more methods for array than what we've done. So it's your duty to find out and test those by yourself. So test those by yourself and be sure that they are like how they work. So now we are moving. So another thing worthy of knowing is that an array is a special kind of object on Java. So we understand objects as an unordered collection of key value pairs. So if you think of an array has the key for an array is the index, while the value of the array is actually what you have inside the array. So, but when you're talking about objects, the key refers to the name of the object, while the value represents the property or method of that object. So we are going to see how that works here. So in JavaScript, an object is an unordered collection of key value pairs. But each key value pair is called a property. So yeah. Then the key of a property can be string. Then the value of a property can be any value. So it could be a string or a number or an array or even a function. So that's an example of an object. So let person equals to first name equals to a first name is John, last name is Doe. So now first name is acting as the key. In fact, first name is the key there, last name is the key there. Then the value of first name or the value of the key first name is John, while the value of the key last name is Doe. So let's continue. So objects can be accessed by using the dot notation. So we see person objects being created here with first name and last name. And if we want to get the first name, we say person dot first name. And then this person dot first name is actually going to print out John. Or we can use this other notation. So you can use the brackets or array-like notation to access the value of a particular key in an object. So we have console.log. So we have person, then we have the bracket notation, and we since it's a string, we now pass it in as a string with how do they call it? Quotation marks. So then, okay, I would come into looping through this object. So if we come back here and want to create, let's say, let person equals to, so we, of course, you can create an empty object like this and you can add things to that empty object. So I could say let person be equals to that, and I say person dot name should be equal to Victor, then person dot location should be equal to let's say Lagos, for example. So if we now console.log person, yes, it would show objects. Okay, so we see that we created an empty object, and then we add values to that empty object by using the dot notation. We can also use this notation. So we can say name here and say location. If we run that, that still gives us the same output. So that being said, can continue. So okay, so there's no question yet. So something I didn't do for arrays, I didn't show you how to loop through an array. So since I am going to show you how to loop through an object, it would be best for me to show you how to loop through an array before knowing how to loop through an object. So of course, so if I say apple, orange, carrot, an apple, then I say for now, you know that all these values have their respective index. It's like apple has an index of 0, orange has an index of 1, and the rest. So if we say let I equals to 0, and we say I should be less than. So now somebody should tell me what I should write inside there. Then of course, here we are going to do I plus plus. So someone should tell me what I should put in as the condition here. Someone should write it on the comment section. So what do you think the condition here is going to be? Or if you can just write this whole statement on the chart tab. So I see. Okay. Okay. So code smiles says fruit.length. So yeah, so that's correct. Although you didn't add s to your fruit, so it's fruit.length. So now someone should also tell me, so what should I write inside here to print each fruit? Yes, fruit.length is correct. So what do I put inside here so that it can now be able to print out the fruit? In fact, okay, let me just do console.log since I want to print something out. So what do I put inside here so that it prints out the fruit? Okay, console.log fruits and then the index. Okay, cool. So someone actually answered that. So I hope every other person is following. Oh. So we say fruits and then we have I here, which is the index we are looping through. So we can do something like fruits, then now say has is in the index of, and do I here. So if we run this, we see that apple is in the index of 0, orange is in the index of 1, carrot is in the, or carrot has the index, carrot has the index. I think that's better. So if I do that, we have, so fruits. So now, of course, you know that this changes from 0 to 1 to 2 to 3 till the length of this fruits. So I hope you guys know that since, of course, this length is 1, 2, 3, 4. In fact, let me print out the length first. So if I do console.log fruits.length and I print it out.
There's a typographical error.
Hello?
I said there's a typographical error. You didn't spell it right.
Okay. So we see that it's showing 4, but I have 0, 1, 2, 3. So of course, if we did fruits less than or equal to, it should print undefined here because there's no fruit at the index of 4, even if this is 4. But this has the index of 0, this has the index of 1, this has the index of 2, this has the index of 3. So there's no fruit at 4. So that's why we don't use less than or equal to here. We are just using less than. So this is just like saying brings the fruit till the length of is like saying length of, if we did something like less than or equal to, then we say length minus 1 and we run it to, oh, length minus 1. Yeah, it still gives us the same thing. So is either I write it like this, less than or equals to fruit of fruit.length minus 1, or remove this length and remove the less than or equals to and just make it less than. It's going to give you the same result. Then, of course, there's another way to actually loop. You can do fruits dot for each. So then you pass in a function here although we've not actually started talking about functions, but we will do that very soon. So we pass in fruits as a singular fruit. So it's going to look, in fact, from the name for each, you should understand that it's looping through each of the fruits. So if we do console.log fruits and we run this, for example, let me remove this. So we see that it actually runs and brings out the fruits for us by using the for each and a function. Then we are actually going to talk more about function very soon in one of our classes. So then so I hope everybody's following up to this point. Everybody's following to this point. If you're confused, say it on the chat. So since I talked about looping through an object, so let's go into that. So you use for in to actually loop through an object. So if we are looping through an object, for example, I say a person. So if I do person location, then I do so if I do that, for example, and I do for for if I could name these keys in person, then I now say I want to print out those keys. So I could write a console.log here. Then inside here I say uh so I put in key here, keys, then I say plus so key is then I do plus, then I do person, and inside here I do keys. So this is a simple way of actually looping through an object. So I say name is Victor, location is Lagos, fave meal is fried rice. And if the list was very long, it will just keep going on and on and on like that to print out what is the value of that, what the value of those of the objects are, the key and the value. So we see that these keys here, whatever I want to name it, even if I wanted to name it W, it means I have to name these other keys W and these keys here W. And if I run it, it will still give me the same output. So we are saying for the value, so this W changes from name from name to location. For the first iteration, it changed it is name. For the second iteration, it's location. For the third iteration, it's favorite meal, like that, like that, like that. So it's like saying Hello, hello. Okay, I'm back. So I hope you guys are hearing me clearly. So that's a basic way of actually looping through the an object. Okay. So that's the basic way of looping through. So that's exactly the same thing I did here. So key is equals to x, which is x here. So this is like saying for key in person. So for the key in person, then the person is the object, the key is these keys here. I'm saying the key, you want to print out the key, and then you want to print out the property that that key is referring to in this person's object. So that's how you go about that. Then let's continue. So then another thing we are going to talk about is using this keyword. So since we haven't treated function, so I guess I just have to treat I guess I just have to introduce functions, because I guess now it's like very important for me to introduce functions. So most times you don't want your code to just run from the beginning till the end like that. You may just run your code and everything runs at once. You want to run your code when something happens, like maybe someone clicks a button or so. So, but since we are since we are since we don't have any, like, should I say, front end or something that maybe a user is going to interact with first before um before a function is called. So let's just learn what functions are. Function. So a function is just a way of breaking down blocks of your code, and then you can give those blocks a name so that when you call them by that name, they can do what you want it to do. So so if you want to write a function, you first write the keyword function, then you write the function name. So if I want to call the function maybe hello, for example, write hello, then I can now write my block of code inside here. So if I want to print out hello, what I can simply do is to print out, I'll do console.log, and I'll print out hello world. But writing this isn't just enough if I don't call the function. So it's just like me giving you a name, and for example, I say your name is Richard, for example, and I say, Richard, run. So first I call your name to so that you know that it's you I'm referring to. Then I tell you an action you should execute. So if I shout, Richard, run, maybe Richard will just stand up and start running, and start running kitty kitty or running kata kata. So so he might stand up and start running at that particular point. So if I want to call this function, I just write hello and with this bracket. So this is to show that it's a function. So if I run that, it's going to actually print hello world. But if I didn't call this function, for example, it's not going to print anything because I didn't call it. So then functions accept parameters. So parameters are what you pass into this parentheses. They are also called arguments. So if I say name, for example, here, I pass in name as an argument there. Then I say hello. Then I say, for example, Victor. Or let me use Richard. Or who? Chimsom. Okay, Chimsom. Let me use Chimsom. CHIMSOM, for example. So I hope you guys are still hearing me clearly. So hello, are you guys hearing me? Okay, Chimsom is very happy I'm using the name. So if I say hello Chimsom, of course I'm supposed to specify it here. So I'm going to say hello then plus name. So if I run this, it's going to print out hello Chimsom. If I use code smile, and print that out. So it is going to print out the value of whatever I put inside here. But then you can also specify default parameters. So if name doesn't have any value, you can say name should always equals to Victor. So sorry. So if I specify a default argument here, and I say if name, what I'm simply saying here is if name doesn't have any value, then name is going to be equals to Victor. So if I run
Okay,
this,
hello.
it will
So sorry to cut you short. Can you hear me?
pass in a value here as maybe VIC, for example. It's going to use that value instead of using Victor. So that's the basic of using functions. Then
Okay, hello, Mr. Vito. Can you hear me? Sorry to cut you short.
all right, okay, so yeah, I'm hearing you.
Yeah, you should be rounding up by now. Thank you.
All right, so I just have one slide. So we'll just all in our next class, I'm going to start from here. So we'll talk about the this keyword, how the this keyword is being used. Then we are also going to talk about you would know how to install. So for Windows, you can actually install you should install Node by going to this website, and then you should install VS Code by actually going to this website. So those two websites. So https nodejs.org/en for English/download. Then for VS Code, vscode.visualstudio.com/download to download VS Code and NodeJS for Windows. Then if you're using Linux and you're actually using Debian distribution, then this is the the method to actually install it. So you do sudo apt install. You first call curl and get this particular path. Then after that, you try to install from that particular path. Then you download VS Code from this same website. I think there is VS Code for Linux. Then after downloading it, if you're using Debian distribution of Linux like Zorin or Ubuntu, now say from where that file is, if it's in your downloads, you do /download/ then the file name .deb. You sudo apt install that to install it. So then, thank you. So in our next class, we are going to really look at functions, and I'm going to talk about how this as